Well, what I thought I'd do today is I'll take you through how we do a nosing and tasting here at Highland Park. We'll try and take you through the basic principles of how to do a nosing and tasting. And it's very, very important to know that you may have seen wine tastings on television or on films. Wine tasting and whisky tasting are two very, very different things. The process is pretty much the same. However, you take different information at each part of the process. And what I'll do is I'll just explain to you the information we take and how to help yourself along in that journey. Now, to start with, first of all, you pour yourself a good healthy measure into a nosing glass. Now, a nosing glass helps concentrate the flavours up your nose, so it helps you to get the flavours out of the whisky. Other glasses are perfectly good for drinking, but for nosing and tasting a whisky, this is the sort of shape you want. First thing we do is we look at colour. We hold it up and we look at colour. Now, colour in whisky tells us absolutely nothing. Basically, all you're doing is making sure your glass is clean. A dark whisky is not older than a light whisky. A dark whisky is not better than a light whisky. A dark whisky is just dark. And the reason for that is because the majority of whisky companies add caramel to their whisky to change the colour. Thankfully, here at Highland Park, everything that we do is completely and utterly natural. So all the colours in all our whiskies is just the effect of maturation and the wood that it's been in. So what we've done, once we've done that, we turn the glass at 45 degrees and we spin it gently once all the way around the glass, like that, and then hold it up straight. And what you're looking for is this line of whisky that appears across the top of the glass. And after a couple of seconds, you get little beads or little tears and legs that begin to come down. And those tears and legs tell you two things. The size of them as they appear on the rim tells you the alcohol content. If they're nice and fat like that, that's 40% alcohol. If they're very, very small, it's high in alcohol. And if this was wine, they'd be really, really fat and go down the side of the glass. The time it takes for those tears to come down the side of the glass tells you the viscosity, the thickness of the spirit. The longer it takes to come down, the thicker the spirit. And the viscosity is made up basically of oils, fats, esters, alcohol. That's flavour. So the longer it takes to come down the glass, the more flavour is in the glass. It doesn't tell you whether it's good and it doesn't tell you whether it's bad, it just tells you there's lots of it. All you're doing at this point is preparing the palate. You're giving yourself, your brain, expectations of what type of flavours to expect in the glass. Therefore, your nose and mouth go looking for these flavours as soon as it goes near it. Now the hardest part, and the bit where most people get confused when they do whisky tastings is, what you never do in whisky tastings is this. You never swirl the whisky. You swirl wine. Wine is between 12 to 14% alcohol. You swirl the wine to agitate the liquid, to get the alcohol to evaporate, and that carries the flavours up the glass and then up your nose. This is 40% alcohol. It does not need any help to evaporate at all. That's why I can smell it from way down here. If you go into a room where there's a wine tasting, there could be thousands of glasses of wine and you can't smell any wine at all. You walk into a room where there's one glass of whisky and immediately you go, somebody's drinking a whisky. It's the same principle. So what we then do to make your life easier is keep the spirit flat, and then we sniff it 3 times. We go 1, 2 and 3. The first time you smell the whisky, you get a tingling sensation in your nose. That's your nose recognising alcohol. The second time that tingling sensation goes and you get a flavour, and it's usually a sweet flavour. The third time you get another flavour and it's usually a fruit. How you describe the flavours in whisky, wine, chocolate, coffee and all the rest is entirely personal. Please don't get led down a garden path by somebody who says, I can smell, winter berries picked on a Wednesday by left-handed people. It's not important, that's not how it works. All you want to do is figure out the basic flavours and then come down a level if you can. So if we describe this flavour as sweet, if you can go and describe that sweetness in simple terms, that's perfect. That's all you want to be able to do. If you swirl whisky, you make that job very, very hard, because as you swirl whisky, all the alcohol tries to evaporate at the same time, and it carries all the flavour up the glass at the same time, and it hits your nose at the same time. Which means unless you're very, very good, that alcohol is just going to burn the nose and totally confuse it, and you get the usual reaction of, oh, all whisky smells the same to me. Basically what you're saying is, I don't understand it. Keep it flat. It makes your life a lot more simple. Then we come to the tasting part, because after all, we do make whisky to drink, not to sniff. What I want you to do is to take a sip and chew the whiskey, bite it for 4 or 5 seconds, and then swallow it over the centre of your tongue. Cheers. Just chew it, and chew it, and chew it, and chew it, and swallow. And then what I want you to think about is what's happening in the mouth. Where is that tingling sensation happening? Where does the finish happen? Is it really, really long? Is it very, very short? Is it bitter? Is it sweet? What's it doing? A lot of people just drink whiskey and then they swallow it and then it's gone forever. We spent 12 years at least making this. Let's give it a little bit of time in the mouth, a little bit of thought about what's happening, and then you can experience the whiskey to its full. That's basically how we do a Highland Park tasting. Very, very simple. Best of luck.